Hello, my name is Salma and welcome to my channel. If you would like to book a personal reading, you can contact me at tattoosandtarot@gmail.com, or you can look up my personal website, which is tattoosandtarot.com, and you can see what other services I have to offer with regard to readings. In any case, I hope you enjoy your monthly Taroscope reading, and any questions that you have, feel free to message me. All right, have a good one. Bye. Hi Pisces, welcome to your July 2017 reading. As I was sort of sitting and reflecting with the cards before starting the video, I was just like, what is Pisces feeling? What's Pisces up to this month? I felt excitement, but I also felt fear, but like a good kind of like nervousness. Like, when you're challenging yourself to do something that you normally wouldn't do, and there's this fear of doing it, but there's also this excitement behind doing it, and like the adrenaline rush behind doing something that you haven't done before. So I got that mix of like courage, I guess, so to speak. And I also kind of got this like feeling of like feeling smitten with something or someone. I'm just kind of feeling like maybe getting kind of caught up or carried away with how, your feelings for someone, or just like, that initial phase when you first meet someone and it's like, like they're so amazing. And then you get to really actually know them. Yeah. So that's what came up for me as I was reflecting on what's going on with you all. And it's like, and maybe part of the excitement is actually in telling somebody how you feel about them. And that's like, it's a fearful thing, but it's also just like, there's something exciting about doing the things that we're afraid of. At least for me. I don't know. I'm a Sag rising, so I like doing, I like going out and being bold and doing the things that I'm afraid of. But yeah, that's kind of the feeling that I got, was like finding the excitement and the fear of pushing ourselves. So, and what's happening astrologically with you guys? Let me put these down. So astrologically, what's happening with Pisces is, and I was reading some stuff about Pisces online, and I'm on the cusp of Pisces as an Aquarius, and I have some Pisces friends. My brother is a Pisces, so I'm Pisces is and Pisces being the culmination of all the signs, right? Being that last final 12th sign. For me, a Pisces can have, a Pisces can display, right, any of the characteristics of any of the 12 signs, really. And that for me being because Pisces is like the culmination of all the signs together in one. But some of the core, right, defining some of the core characteristics of a Pisces, right, is, there is the tagline for Pisces is I believe, right? So the believer, the infinite believer in all that is, in all that is possible, and all that is real, and just the depth of belief that, is there in a Pisces is unbelievable. And the dreamer, the believer, and trying to maintain being in the real world and being in the dream world at the same time, and finding things in the real world to be, satisfying enough, or finding interest enough in things in a few things in the real world to keep you plugged into the real world, right? Where the dream world is really where you want to be. Pisces, it's kind of like it straddles, this winter it straddles wintertime and springtime, right? So on the one hand, this very water sign, water-esque kind of desire to kind of, be with oneself, be in one's own world, right? In the wintertime, we kind of lock ourselves away. We're with family, we're with lovers, we're with close ones, right? It's when family holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, those are around those times of the year during the winter, the colder months, or when we're also sort of, socially driven to want to be with family and to be with those closest in our nest, right? So on the one hand, this very winter kind of, wanting to be closed off, be with the self, be with family, be with what's most secure for us. And then also straddling this very spring, like the popping up of that flower out of the snow, right? Of like, hello, but I'm here. And like this desire for poking your head out, so to speak. And springtime, the beginning of new life, the beginning of the season of the extrovert, right? The beginning of, things growing and things happening and new life being created. So Pisces, is sometimes a lot about dealing with not only living in these dual realities, but dealing with this, the dualness of self, of like wanting to be hidden away, but then also wanting to like just be out in the world, right? And so those are some of the core things about Pisces, right, that I really admire. And what's happening for you all astrologically right now, is that Venus is entering. And Venus has been in Gemini, right, since July 4th. Sorry, your reading is late. It's like now mid-July. So Venus is and is entering into your 4th house, right? So, and that could represent the things in your, and 4th house being the house of home, the house of, family, the house of what brings us security, the house of like, what makes me feel secure? Like, what is it that brings me security? And that representing your 4th house. And as Venus moves into your 4th house while in Gemini, right? Like that combination of Venus and Gemini, making things at home very lovely and like easygoing and harmonizing, and communication, right? With Gemini being there, communication in the home being very easy. Ideas being shared amongst family members very easily, siblings being a big part of the home, right? Like you and your siblings coming together in the home and harmonizing together. Maybe if you've had, if you've had lack of harmony or discord with siblings in your home, if you live with siblings, right? If you have siblings, that Venus entering in Gemini smooths things out with brothers and sisters. Or siblings, chosen family, right? And, also it could represent Venus being the sun, being, a planetary representation of our partners and partnerships, like maybe partners moving in with you. Maybe partners moving in with you or partners moving in and bringing new ideas with them as to how the home should be run, and you being open to those new ideas. And meanwhile, while we have Venus in your 4th house in Gemini occurring, you're also going to have Saturn entering into your 10th house in Sagittarius opposing your 4th house, right? So with Saturn opposing, Venus in your 4th house, there is also, on the one hand, while your home life, right? And usually when we have an opposition, that means that, it's not so much that things are contentious like they are in a square, but it just means that there are two things that you're dealing with. There are two opposite ends of the spectrum that you're dealing with in different areas, in opposing areas of your life, right? The 4th house representing home and what's secure, and the 10th house representing your career, your public life, and the ways in which we may have to put ourselves on the line. Like sometimes being in the public eye, being at work aren't comfortable and secure places for us. They're places where we kind of just have to, be that may not be very comfortable, right? So with Saturn in the 10th house and being in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius representing our beliefs, our convictions, our higher learning, spirituality, travel, right? That's all the things Sagittarian, right? Packed into there. So Saturn in the 10th house, you know, are there responsibilities that you're not handling in your 10th house? You know, are there, like, you know, asking yourself what limitations and restrictions are you placing on your career and on your public life? What do you have to reevaluate about your beliefs and your convictions about your public life? Like, what are the beliefs that you've held? You know, is there higher learning that you have to do? Like, do you have to go and learn a new skill? Like Sagittarius being, you know, higher education. Do you have to go back to school to learn a new skill in order to further your career? And is doing that and is making that move, you know, going to put limitations on what you can do, like, on your career right now? Or like, is having to go back to school going to disrupt your 4th house home life, right? So that relationship between, like, things at home are really comfortable, but there are some uncomfortable places that I'm going to have to go to in my career sector in order to develop in my career and in order to push forward in my career and in my public life and in my public image. And doing those things may shake up, right, the comfort level of my home life. So that's kind of what came up when I was researching, you know, what's happening for Pisces astrologically. And so now I'm going to get into the reading. And again, you know, sorry that this is late. And, you know, also, if this resonates with you, great. I'm glad. I'm super happy that I could be of service. And if it doesn't resonate with you, you know, come back, check back next month. And also, you know, check other Pisces videos on YouTube. I remember having to go through many, many videos sometimes to find videos that resonated with what I was, you know, going through. And that's just kind of how energy works sometimes. Some people pick up on things and others don't. So let's see what's happening for Pisces for July 2017. Pisces, July 2017. Okay. Ooh, we had a two for one there. Something was popping, but didn't quite make it all the way out. Yeah. I can't see the face. Okay. Yeah, that energy of, like, being kind of smitten is starting to reveal itself a little bit. Not too much. Sorry, this is taking a while. I might have to start shuffling beforehand. So yeah, I have one more for Pisces. Thank you. Okay, cool. So yeah, we have the Chariot. You know, and that Chariot for me is, you know, it's a Cancer card, right? It's that 4th house Cancer card. But it's also representative to me of a Capricorn in a lot of ways. It's that dual nature, that dual reality between the Cancer and the Capricorn, right? The desire to be home and to be the master of one's own, you know, shell, right? To be in that private inner world, but also to, like, charge forward and charge ahead, right? This charioteer, he's charging ahead. and he knows what he knows where he's going. You know, most of the time he knows where he's going. So, right, so like this card for me represents that dual nature of the Cancer and the Capricorn, right? That Capricorn with and you know, we're in Cancer and we just had that Capricorn full moon, right? And Pisces being a water sign, you know, feeling connected to those energies, and also being a water sign and being Pisces that, you know, a water sign that's kind of caught between being in the real world and being in the dream world, and the dream world being that security and comfort of the 4th house where we can make our own reality, and the real world being that 10th house where it's cutthroat and it's, you know, very Capricornian and very, you know, this is what we have to do to survive, and this is, you know, the building blocks of career, and this is what needs to happen. So this card definitely representing to me that dual nature of being in the inner world, but also having to exist and charge forward in the outer world. So that's what I see. That's what I see with that. So let's go ahead and get into the reading. I'm going to move my chair a bit closer. Okay. So we have Temperance here, right? And Temperance is, you know, Temperance for me is a Sagittarius, has a Sagittarius kind of energy where it's this very intentional blending of these energies, right? And I really feel like this speaks to Saturn in conversation with Venus, asking you to intentionally and carefully, right? She's dipping her toe in very carefully blend, right? These two cups, and these two cups representing opposites, representing duals, representing, right, these two aspects of self, these two spheres, the inner home, private sphere versus the public, you know, the public dominating outer sphere of life, right? So, and I'm actually seeing a lot of cards that kind of, whenever I see two sort of elements in a card, my immediate gut reaction is, where is the balance between the elements that are represented, right? In what those things represent. So in the Temperance card, there is definitely careful consideration. And it's almost as if, like, there is something very precious. There is something like these two cups are very precious to this person. To this angel, in this card. But it's very, and the dip, the slow and careful dipping in of the toe. But what I'm also feeling is that, like, you know, don't be too, you know, cautious and careful. Like, try not to stay here too long, right? Like, having patience and having temperance is great, but sometimes we also have to charge forward ahead and make a decision about what we're going to do. So yeah, I'm seeing this as something precious is being held, and something is being taken into careful consideration, right? And it's almost, with the Two of Wands here, there's also this, you know, the same thing with this World in the hand, palm of the hand, right? It's like, oh, I have the ability, right? I have the ability to go out into this world with this wand and sort of manifest things and make things happen and change things. It will be very, very, very hard work, but I already have this really nice wand sitting back here behind me, right? And once again, this dual nature of, like, going out into this world, into this public sphere, this public atmosphere, but still wanting to maintain closeness and still wanting to maintain a relationship with, you know, this wand here, right? Like this, wanting to maintain connection to the home and to the past, essentially, right? Like, 4th house also representing things from the past, right? Cancer, you know, has a very good memory, sometimes to a fault. And yeah, it's like, this 5 of Swords to me represents, you know, running and hiding, but you're cheating yourself, right? Like this guy in the Five of Swords, he's managed to steal all of their swords. He's managed to kind of outsmart these people, right? But now he has all these swords that he can't carry. And now it's his victory is more of a burden to him than it is an actual victory. So, if there is a job or if there is a career move in your life that you're, contemplating moving forward into, but are still are still really holding on to what's here in the past, right? Like if that's kind of what's going on and you think that you've been able to kind of outsmart, everybody to the point where like you can kind of have your cake and eat it too, right? Where you can maybe make the career move without moving forward. Or like if there's something about thinking that you can just kind of hide out, which is not going to work. It's not going to work. And I can understand why, because at the home, like I said before, we've got Venus entering into Gemini in the fourth house, right? Which I think is already a transit that's happening for you. I can understand why you'd want that, because look at all that you've got at home. Like, look at what's happening at home. There's coming together, there's beauty, there's celebration, there might even be a partnership moving into the home, but there's communication, there's gaiety, there's fun happening. There's some good times happening at home, right? There's some great times happening at home. There's even the potential and the possibility of a relationship that's occurring in your fourth house, that's happening at home, that, you both are coming together and healing. But, it's like these five swords, this, and I really do feel that this represents, a career opportunity that is being run away from, or like, the knowing that there needs to be work and effort and time and consideration that needs to be put into the public sphere, the 10th house work, the career center, and it's not, and it's kind of like you're thinking that you can get away without putting in that work. And the more, and that's, and essentially that's where Saturn is in your 10th house, right? And the more and more and more we ignore the lessons that Saturn is trying to give us, the more lessons he throws our way, right? So like you started out with 5 swords, right? That you were being burdened by, because as much as this character thinks he's victorious, he's now burdened, right? Now it's like when you, and I fall victim of this sometimes, right? Where it's like, that you kind of messed up on something, or like somebody calls you, right? Or, you get a phone call from somebody or a friend, and then you forget to call that person back, right? And it's an important phone call, or, a phone call that you needed to get, a person that you needed to get back to. And you keep kind of putting it off. And the more you put it off, the more you feel bad about actually calling that person back. But the more, the worse you feel about calling that person back, the more fear you have about it, right? So then like it's like the vicious cycle of like, the longer I don't do this, the more fear I have about actually doing it, which keeps me in the cycle of not doing it. So you started out with like, only being burdened by 5 swords, right? Like only being burdened by, ruminating over this, maybe a little bit. And now Saturn has given you 10 swords. Like right now you're being burdened, and now you're being held down and plugged down and stabbed in the back by all 10 of these swords, right? So now it's like, what was a small problem in the beginning, what you were trying to escape in the beginning, is now becoming overwhelming, right? Yeah, so whatever responsibility you're being asked to take and again, like 10s, this is like the 10 of swords, 10th house, right? Like whatever you are being asked to take responsibility for in your 10th house, in your career, in your public image, you know, and you didn't do it, or you chose to kind of, you know, I don't know. And you chose to kind of not handle it. And another thing that I just picked up on that just popped into my head was that, you know, this could be you handling business in the 10th house. This could be you handling business in career, business, the public sphere. This could be you handling business, but handling it in a way that's not very integrous, or not that of integrity, like, right, not having a lot of integrity and going about your business affairs, right? And again, Saturn asking you, like, well, do you want the karma of not handling your business affairs in a way that has integrity, right? Whereas at home, things are very harmonizing and beautiful and lavish and lovely. And, you know, even with this Temperance card, you have cups here, right? And to me, the cups being, you know, where the home, the emotions, the security lives, right? Like, even in the home, there's this balance, this beautiful balance that's happening in the home. And maybe in the public sphere, there's this kind of, you know, knowing what you have to do, having the world in the palm of your hands, and maybe going about and getting what you want in the public sphere, in the 10th house sector, in a not so integrous way, and then the karma of that, right? The karma of that coming back, you know, double, right? Like, literally, you have 5, and now it's doubled into 10, right? So being mindful of, you know, how are you handling your business affairs? Like, what are, you know, and Sagittarius also asks us to really reflect upon. Now we have the Hanged Man. To really reflect upon and to see things from a different perspective, right? Like, we have the 5 of Swords and the Hanged Man sort of in connection with one another. And so it's like, sometimes when we act in this non-integrous way, when we act in this way that is not of our highest good, sometimes it propels us into self-reflection and into feeling, to almost feeling kind of, you know, I don't want to say bad, but you know, to become self-persecuting, right? Like, this Hanged Man is hanging upside down because he has these beliefs and these convictions that he sticks to and that he believes wholeheartedly, and as a result of not denying himself of his own convictions, he's now here hanging upside down, right? And so maybe getting back in touch with, like, what are the convictions and the beliefs? And you know, and yes, you might have been here, but don't persecute yourself too much. Just try to see things from a different perspective. Just try to see the enlightenment, right? Just try to understand what this process, what this karma really is about, right? Like, this cycle of karma needs to end, right? And maybe in order for it to end, you're going to have to be in some stagnation for a little bit, and to kind of reflect upon your actions and just be in inaction. And again, Saturn and Sagittarius asks us to really refine and asks us to really define our convictions, our beliefs, the things that we believe to be true, you know, the things that we can get self-righteous about, right? Like, what's our personal philosophy in life? Where's our moral compass? Where is our higher understanding? Where are our spiritual beliefs at? Like, that is what this card, that is what, to me, this card is asking you to do, Pisces, is to really reflect and ask yourself, like, man, like, I acted in a way that may not, in my career sector, that may not have been in alignment with my highest self, right? Like, that, like, you know, again, like, you have these 2 wands, they're not in alignment with one another. They're on opposite ends, right? There's like this lack of alignment in the public sphere. Whereas, again, at home, things are looking really beautiful, and it's like, oh, why can't things be like they are at home? But that's just the way it is. That's just how the cookie crumbles right now for you guys this month. And so really asking yourself, like, what were the convictions? Like, what were the beliefs? Like, what were the beliefs and the morals, or the lack thereof, that allowed me to get here and to be in a place like this, you know? Can I get clarification for the Hanged Man? Why is the Hanged Man here? Yeah. The Hanged Man wants you to get in. The Hanged Man wants you to actually look at expanding upon, right? Expansion. The Hanged Man actually wants you to ask the question of like, how did I get here? What am I missing? What am I not, how am I not behaving in my most integrous, or my most, in a place of highest integrity, right? Like, how is this happening here? And, you know, and then we have the Knight of Wands, right? And I think the Knight of Wands can be a really great energy for you guys, because the Knight of Wands is a go-getter, and the Knight of Wands is not afraid of, you know, implementing his ideas and his convictions and his passions into the physical world. The Knight of Wands takes action, you know? The Knight of Wands takes the ideas from the elements of air, and moves them into action and into fire, right? So the Knight of Wands, and again, I see this as you picking one of the wands. You pick a wand and you move forward with it, and you just go for it, and that's what you do, you know. And sometimes still, you know, I question the integrity of the Knight of Wands and his ability to, you know, have staying power and to be consistent and to be a reliable energy. But nonetheless, I think it's a much better energy than this Five of Swords figure, who, you know, is winning at the sake of, you know, who's winning at it's a cheap victory, you know. And it's a victory, you know, and like I said before, now he's got 5 swords to carry. He can't carry all that. It's a greedy victory. You know, it's almost kind of like a victory that you sought after, that it's like a fear-based kind of victory. It's not really anything that's genuine. Yeah, just be mindful of the karma that you're incurring by behaving in this way in the public sphere, in your career, right? Like, have some integrity with your career. And but I do see you picking one wand and going forth with it, and really really committing to whatever, you know, whatever Sagittarius, this is a fire energy, right? So whatever Sagittarius is asking of you to learn, to go back, whatever skill that is, whatever, you know, refining and redefining of your convictions and your beliefs, whatever that needs to happen, I see that happening. And I see you moving forth in your career sector with a lot more confidence. That was a pretty straightforward reading for you guys. Can I get an outcome card for Pisces, July 2017? Outcome for Pisces, July 2017. Alright, outcome for Pisces, July 2017. Yeah. The balancing act, you know, it's still a work in progress, you know, and for a lot of signs, things aren't really going to start to take shape until August with the eclipses happening, and it's a lot happening in August. But, you know, the continuation of this balancing practice and actually getting a little bit more bold with it, right? Like this Temperance card, there's a balancing act happening, but it's a very careful and almost kind of like, I don't want to tip the water out. Like it's a very kind of careful balancing act. Whereas this guy is a little bit more, you know, he gets a little bit more handy, right? He's a little bit more handy with it. He's a little bit more bold and a little bit more courageous with how he's balancing things out. And it's not such a fearful place, right? It's not such a, you know, a timid. This has a bit of a timid energy, whereas this energy is a bit more action oriented, not so timid, more so willing to learn the lessons of trying to figure it out and not being afraid to drop one of these pentacles in the process. So I definitely see, you know, once again, the balancing between the home and the career continue to go up and down, right? Like these waves. It goes up and down. But I see you learning how to handle it a lot better. And I see you, you know, definitely maintaining these energies in the home and learning how to really, you know, not, you know, how can you have more integrity in your career and your public life, definitely, and balance those two things out. Because usually when we get to this place, it's because, you know, we're frustrated with something or because we feel like we have to cheat our way through something. And so how can you make your career and public life more of a safe space to where you can have more of this in the public life, in your career life? So that is, you know, I'll show you the cards. Here's what we've got going on, right? This was a clarifier for that card. So yeah, you know, this is what's going on. And I hope you all enjoyed your reading. It was very quick and to the point. And if you would like to book a personal reading with me, you can email me at tattoosandtarot@gmail.com. Or you can go to my personal website, which is tattoosandtarot.com, and I will leave that all below in the description box, and you can click on those links. And I hope you enjoyed your reading, and I will see you back in August. All right, bye, Pisces.